So let's talk about Genesis chapter 4. We're going to talk about creation, from creation to creators, to murderers, to worshipers. The chapter opens by telling us that Adam made love to his wife Eve and she became pregnant. And the first human being was born. His name was Cain. And as I think about this and as I read this, I have to imagine that this had to be a shocking experience for both Adam and Eve. Eve being the first woman ever to experience pregnancy, the pains of pregnancy, the pains of childbirth. So it had to be something shocking for both of them. Anyways, after that, she had another son, and his name was Abel, and he was the first human to die. And I'll tell you in a second how and why. So Abel became a shepherd, and Cain became a farmer of the land. So both brothers decided to bring an offering to the Lord. And I personally love the way the Bible describes the offerings, because it says simply that Cain brought from the fruit of the land. However, Abel brought the fattest portions of one of his firstborn lambs. So therefore, the Lord was pleased with both Abel and his offering, but he was not pleased with both Cain and his offerings. And then you may wonder why, and this has been debated for many years. Well, I think that the chapter gives us some hints as to why this was, and also the Bible in the New Testament tells us, in my opinion, the reason why God did not accept Cain and his offering. Anyways, Cain became very upset, very angry. He became depressed. So the Lord came to him and said, Cain, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And then he gave him a warning and told Cain, sin wants to destroy you. But then he says, you must master it. But regardless of that, it tells us the chapter that Cain took his brother Abel out to the field and whacked him, killed him, murdered him. He became the first murderer. And then God came and asked Cain about his brother. And Cain said, I don't know anything about him. Am I my brother's keeper? So not only he killed them, not only he murdered him, he had no remorse for what he did. He pretty much hid his sin, what he just did, killing his brother. And if you think about that, and then you connect that with what First John chapter 3, let me check here, First John chapter 3 verse 12 tells us, when John is speaking about humans or us loving each other, in that chapter 3 of First John verses 12 tells us that Cain was evil. So Cain was a bad dude. Therefore, that's why God was not pleased with his offering, because he was not pleased in the first place with Cain. And that's the reason why Cain killed his brother. Not because he was upset because God did not accept his offering. It's because he was a bad dude. So he went and killed his brother. So therefore, the Bible says that God had no choice but to curse him, kicked him out of the land. And because he was afraid that he was going to be killed, God marked him, put a mark, maybe an X, maybe an L for loser, I don't know. He kicked him out of the land and he became a fugitive, a wanderer. And then if you go further down that chapter, verses 17-23, but pretty much tells us that Cain, met his wife and had sons, and talks about his family tree, genealogy of Cain. But then when you go further toward the end of the chapter, it tells us that Adam made love to Eve once again, and then she had another child, another son, and they named him Seth. And then Seth had a son and named him Enosh. And it says at the end of the chapter that around that time, man began to worship the Lord. From creation to creators, to murderers, to worshipers.